Let's take a look at the TI-84 Plus Silver Edition. Now you may have a math print version of this. How you can tell is you do second and then plus to access memory and do in or on about. And see how mine says MP? That means it's math print. So there's two different silver editions, TI-84 Plus Silver Editions. I'm going to shut my math print off for purposes of this video. So I go to mode, and I want to do a down arrow until I get to the second page. If you don't have a second page, that means you don't have math print. And see where it says math print in classic? I'm going to right arrow over and press enter in classic. Second mode exit, you have anything. Okay. Now I'm going to go to y equals. And the first one we're working with is this one right here. Y is equal to x squared minus 3x plus 1. So I'll press clear. I'll do my x key, x squared minus 3x plus 1. Okay, now see this one where it says table setup? I'm going to do a second window to go into the table setup. And to begin with, you see how independent says auto and dependent says auto? That's what we want. If yours isn't set up that way, down arrow to those and put your flashing cursor on it and press enter on auto. And then down arrow, press enter on auto, and you'll see the highlighting change to those. You don't want to ask yet. Now we're just getting used to the concept of the table in this video. We're not going to do much useful with it. We're going to see some useful items to do with it when we cover evaluating functions with it. Now I'm going to do a second mode, exit out. And now see we got table over here. It's above the graph. So to get into the table, we do second graph. This is like one big T-chart. For example, let me come down here and look at this one. X is equal to 4. Well, if I take a look at this function here, we got y is equal to x squared minus 3x plus 1. And this entry says for x equals 4. If we were to do this by hand, we would take that 4, we'd plug it in for the x, so we got y is equal to 4 squared minus 3 times 4 plus 1. So y is equal to 4 squared is 16 minus 3 times 4 is 12 plus 1. 16 minus 12 is 4 plus 1 is 5. So the point we'd have is we'd have 4, 5. Well, look what my y part is, 4, 5. So again, this is like one big T-chart. Now this is useful if you're needing to browse a table for values. Now what if I wanted x equals 200? I'd have to do a down arrow quite a bit to get to it. We could go back to our table setup, so let's do second window, and see where it says table start. Instead of 8, let's change that to 200. And press enter. And now if we go back to our table, so do second graph, all of a sudden you see it starting at 200 and then going up. And it says right here, press plus for the delta table. That's where you could change it by different values. See how this is going by ones now? You could change that to a 5 and press enter. And see how it's going from 200, 205, 210, 215. You can also set that up over here. If you do second window, go back to your table setup, see delta table. You can have that go by whatevers. You could have that go by hundreds. So if I change that to 100 and go back to my table, second graph, see that now they go by hundreds. You could have decimals. So if I do a press plus for the delta table, and I'll put in 0.1 or 0.01. You could have it go by whatever. This is going by tenths, like that. So it's kind of a nice feature. Now let's go back to our table setup. Second window. And instead of going by 0.1 and starting at 200 and so forth. Let's come down to independent. Instead of having that say auto, let's right arrow over, put our flashing cursor on ask, and press enter. Now in terms of your standard like y is equal to 3x plus 5 type setup, the independent variable is the x. So when we say ask, we're saying ask for the x. Now if we go back to the table, we do second graph, all of a sudden our table is blank. It's waiting for us to input values. So here, remember how I put 4 in by hand, that came up with 5? Well, I put 4, enter, and we get 5. I could put 200 in, and we get this. I could put 2.357 in, and then we get that. So it's kind of nice in that regard. It's when you set independent for ask, you can enter in whatever values you want. And if I do my right arrow over here, see there's more decimal places than what you see. It'll round these over here. Anyway, that's setting your independent variable to ask. Now let's look at our other one. I'll press y equals, and I had a second function here. I'll do a clear 1 divided by 3 x squared, so x key and x squared, plus x minus 2. Now if I go to my table, I do second graph. I could set it back so it wasn't asking anymore. But let's say I want to enter in some new values. To get rid of these old ones, you just press delete, and it'll delete that value and scroll them up. Now if I put in 5, enter, 2, enter, 1, enter, then you see we get decimals over here, which might be okay, depending upon what we're looking for. This value right here, let's look at this. We got y is equal to 1/3 x squared plus x minus 2. And the value I plugged in was 5. Well, let's put 5 in there and see what we get. We got 1/3 times 5 squared plus 5 minus 2. 5 squared is 25 times 1/3 is 25 thirds. 5 minus 2 is 3. This is a mixed number form, so I can take 3 times 3 is 9, plus the 25 is 34. And then our denominator stays as is. Now let me double check that real quick. Yeah, 34. So this is the actual value. What it gave us was the decimal approximation. So there is some problems there. But in certain cases in mathematics, maybe you're happy with the decimal. And so this works out very well. Again, to exit out of anything, you do second mode. And that's the table feature of the TI-84 Plus Silver Edition calculator.